Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man that wants to remind everyone that it's time to go put pilgrim hats on your Halloween decorations. It's Dale.
That's right, and then put a Christmas light around that.
That's right.
just keep on adding on till you get to the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, you can do that.
What's going on, man?
Same old, same old.
Yeah, man. Same old, same old.
That's right. You got any good shout-outs anybody you want to talk about?
Hey, look at here.
Oh, I love that clap.
You know what that means.
But not that clap.
Yeah, not that clap. It's another Apple 5-star
Five-star
podcast review. How about that?
I like it.
This comes from our buddy Jordan2531. Says, great show, awesome show, and happy I got to meet Dale. Truly down-to-earth guys. And this is our buddy Jordan from Sunshine Coffee down here in town. I assume so. If not, because that's the only one I've met named Jordan recently. So, anyway. Yeah. So, appreciate that, man. Thanks a ton for taking the time to drop us a line and give us a 5-star review, and thanks so much.
And if anybody else wants to be like Jordan and go to Apple Podcasts, please click that 5-star and write a review. You got to do both.
Yeah, at least write something in there.
Yeah, tell us your dog's name, tell us what you like to eat, and we'll give you a big old shout out.
Yeah, he could have just wrote coffee and donuts and been cool.
Oh, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I get the little, he mentioned me. Did I say that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
I was able to get that part in there.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he mentioned you in that.
Oh, man, look, right there. Right by the exclamation point.
Yeah, but he
what a guy.
But he put a little D in front of your name.
What are you trying to imply, sir?
I ain't implying nothing. Hey, but he did mention your name.
That's right.
Did you say that?
I did.
Okay.
I'll take it, little D or not.
All right, but anyway, we're gonna get going on this episode, dude.
All right, let's do.
Tonight on this episode, man, we've got something really special.
Very.
That we're continuing with.
I'm getting chills already.
Yeah, because, back on episode 127,
yep, we
covered Davina Buff Jones.
We did.
She was the officer that was murdered there on Bald Head Island.
Yeah, under a lot of scrutiny.
Yes. And on episode 172, we were privileged to have her younger sister,
yep,
Bev Buff Sadler.
Mm-hmm.
And Bev gave us a lot of insight, a lot of information on Davina, and talked about her life and their life growing up and her career going into Bald Head Island. And
a few nuggets we didn't know.
Exactly.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. And man, the cards have just fell into place with this story, and we're trying to keep it going. We're trying to talk to many people as we can to keep her story out there and to get the facts straight and keep it in the eyes and ears of everybody.
Yes, definitely.
And with that being said, we are more than privileged to have Davina's older sister on the show tonight. Her name is Tanya Buff Hart. And like I said, she is the older sister, and she's agreed to be on the show and tell us a little bit more about Davina, her life, and more of her career that she chose to be an officer, and some things that took place on Bald Head Island.
Right, and we know that Davina talked to her a good bit, more than Bev,
yeah,
about certain things, and hopefully we'll get some stuff going, and I think this is going to be great.
Yeah, so we want to welcome Tanya Buff Hart to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm privileged to be with you.
Well, we appreciate you. This is above and beyond.
Very much so.
Yeah. But before we get going, we got to wish you a happy birthday.
You going to sing happy birthday, Donnie?
No, I'm not going to sing happy birthday. I'm just going to wish her a happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday. Very, very happy
Thank
birthday.
you so much.
Yeah.
I feel so blessed.
Well, we appreciate you.
I think we're the blessed ones here.
Yeah, we are, because we appreciate you giving up your time on your birthday to talk to us about Davina.
You're making me cry.
We consider Davina's case very special to us.
Very. Yeah.
Yes.
Since the first time we started talking about it, it was like, listen to this.
First time Dale listened to it, it pissed him off.
Whew, boy, that's
yeah.
hot. I listened to our episode again today, and it pissed me off again. I said, damn, this thing makes me mad. She was just so damn done, so dirty.
It makes me mad. It infuriates me.
But we asked your younger sister, Bev, some questions and stuff, and we'll probably ask you some of the same things we asked her, but you seem to know a little bit more about Davina and her life there at the coast and on, her living at Oak Island and working on Bald Head Island. But before we get going, tell us your recount of growing up with Davina. And
being you're a little older, you maybe.
Yeah, the tough buff girls that we know about.
Yeah. Well, it was us three. You know, us three. We were the only girls. Really, there weren't many girls in the neighborhood. And so Davina and I were more tomboyish. Beverly was the youngest, and she was more girly and played with dolls, where Davina and I, you know, we would climb trees and go hang out in the tree house that Daddy built or tried to build. And we're surprised we didn't fall out that thing. But anyway, we used to, you know, ride our bikes all through the neighborhood. It's like, you know, we just had trick-or-treating, and everybody's talking about, you know, walking their kids around. We just went out on our own, and we came back when it was dark. You know, it was that kind of neighborhood back then. Mm-hmm. And we had a good life. My mom and dad were strict, but they brought us up to be independent and not to tell lies, to be truthful, to have integrity, and I think the restaurant helped us a lot. I started working in the restaurant when I was very young. Babysitters wouldn't show up, and they'd put Davina in like a pan where they'd go clean off the tables, and Davina would play with Matchbox cars and sit in that pan, and I'd stand back there and wash dishes with the dishwasher. Yeah. And when I was like 7 or 8. And so I liked it because Daddy'd give me a little bit of money. You know, we didn't get money. We did things around the house. It was expected of us. Yeah. We made grades. We better make good grades, but we didn't get paid to make good grades. Yeah. If you earn money, you had a job to earn that money. Exactly. Yeah. My daddy says he was a poor boy from the mountains, and he didn't have anything, and he was lucky to get an orange some Christmases. And you know, I've heard that story. He didn't have his first pair of shoes. He said until he was like 8 or 9 and walking to school. And he said, Tanya, I don't remember. I think my first steak, I was at least probably 12 or 13 before I ever had my first steak. Wow. You know, and that, you know, hearing those stories, I heard them, but I didn't really understand until I got older and had to feed my own family.
Yeah, you could appreciate it all then, right?
No, I didn't. I kind of just, but my Mama Sue, you know, his mother, Mama Sue raised us because they got the restaurant, and Mama started working in the restaurant with Daddy, and so my Mama Sue, they moved her down from the mountains, and she lived right up the road, and she raised us, and she was tough. Let me tell you, she was like my daddy. She was tough.
Mountain women.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, if she told you to go get a switch, you better get a good one, because boy, I learned after the first time, you know, you better pick out a good one, because you don't want her to pick one out.
Yeah, you said that right. Yeah, I know that. I know them stories. Them are long walks.
But my dad was the type too that, like, he'd call home and he'd say, "What are y'all doing? It's Friday night." I said, "I'm getting Beverly and Davina to watch scary movies." He goes, "Good. Don't say nothing." And then he'd get home and he'd go around and he'd scratch the screen and scare Davina and Beverly be curled up to me, but I knew it was Daddy. Santa Claus, you know, on the roof, bells and stomping around.
That's so awesome.
That was us. I mean, it was just we laughed a lot, and we played jokes, and he did a lot of cranks and stuff with the police officers that came into the restaurants and stuff too, and it was fun. It was all in fun. We were very blessed too, though, because he did feed the first responders, the police, and the fire, and Snoopy the helicopter would land in the parking lot to eat. But we were blessed. I can't ever remember, knock on wood, getting a ticket. I got pulled over a lot, but I didn't get a ticket. I got a mean verbal warning and maybe even a written warning, but I never got a ticket. So I don't know.
You talking about you girls being taught not to lie and everything? I think that transpired over in Davina a little bit, and her being so gung ho, and her life choice to become an officer. You know,
most definitely
a stickler for the rules.
Yeah,
most
right
definitely.
Down the middle.
She loved it.
Yeah,
I mean, from the get go, she loved the uniform. She loved everything about it, and she was. I'd pass her because we pass each other. The gun range was not even. I could ride my horse to the gun range from where she'd go shoot her gun, and my house was right there, and we'd pass each other, and she'd be pointing at me. Well, the reason she was pointing at me was because that was the 99 was the year that they made it mandatory that you had to wear seatbelts. And I was like, I don't like them telling me I gotta wear a seatbelt. They shouldn't tell me. I had a friend of mine, if she'd had her seatbelt on, she'd been dead. And I said, I know other people that, that didn't have their seatbelts on and they died. But Davina goes, you're lucky I can't pull you over. I'd give you a ticket. We would just pick with each other like that. And she's like, she was by the book.
Yeah. I think that's,
very commendable.
And that's just the way she went. But she made fun about it too. I mean, especially with me. But there was a lot of things we talked about seriously that went on the island with, a lot of things that went on over there. And it's like with Norma McLeod, she rode around with him, and they were wanting her to work. Even Larry Jones was a officer and a friend of my dad's at Brunswick County Sheriff's Department, and he approached my dad on the golf course. They were playing one day, and he said, do you think Davina would be willing to work with us part-time, undercover, because she's so small, she would fit in the high school, or she'd fit in the colleges, and maybe make drug buys. And Daddy says, that's not up to me, Larry. He said, if Davina wants to do that, she can do that, but he said, I don't know whether she's willing to do that on the side or allowed to do that on the side since she's working at Bald Head. And, I remember us talking about that. And Davina goes, I don't know, I don't know if I want to do that or not. I'll just stick, with Bald Head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they would have let her do that. I mean, she would have had to leave Bald Head to go do something like that,
right.
I think. I don't know. She never asked or went any further with it.
Well, now you worked on Bald Head Island a little while before she did. You were there. It was a few years before she got down there.
Yeah, I worked in the restaurant,
the River Pilot
Cafe, in 88 and 89.
What was the life like on the island at that time?
They only had 2 security guards, an older man, and oh my gosh, I knew his name because I knew him from Oak Island or Long Beach back then. And then another guy that was a younger guy that worked, when he didn't work. But they usually were gone off the island before it got dark. It wasn't, nothing really happened over there. Or if it did, you didn't hear about it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably how they liked it, too. They get going.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I landscaped over there. I took U-Haul trucks and instead of taking my vehicle on the barge, I'd take U-Haul trucks over there and landscape some of the villas and some individual homes. I worked for the Gottwald family over there for years, and you get off the barge, nobody would ever stop and check what's in my U-Haul truck. You leave the island, nobody ever stopped and checked what was in my U-Haul truck. I mean, it was just. It just was, and that was later. That was when me and my mom had the garden center, and my aunt had the garden center, and that was in the 90s. That was 91, 92, 93, 94, 95 I was working over there. But there was a couple of people that when Davina started working over there and I even went over there when Davina was a police officer. She just wasn't working that day to do an estimate. And I asked her about a man, and ended up that same man is a contractor over there, but he was the one that was heard in the restaurant boistering when he was drunk that he had her murdered. And his name was Wayne Lambert. And that's a known fact. And I asked her about him, and she goes, well, he's got a bad reputation, but they say to leave all the homeowners alone, that I'm not allowed to mess with any of the homeowners or the builders, but I have to really double check the workers.
Wow. I hadn't heard that about the guy boistering.
No.
Yeah, she would tell me that. She'd say, yeah, they tell me to turn my head against, the contractors and the homeowners, but if they're doing any wrong, look the other way. But she said, if they're the workers, go after them if they're doing anything wrong.
What the heck?
That sounds like those folks.
And I know most of those guys are guys I grew up with, graduated with. That did the building of the houses over there. And I'm like, wonder why. But she made a lot of friends with those guys.
Yeah.
Probably because they told her not to be like that with them. But, yeah, it's just a lot of things that has happened. And a lot of things that I hadn't thought about in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, hearing y'all's podcast and stuff has just brought back a lot of things that I had forgotten.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It is okay, because I believe in my faith, and I believe in God, and you know, a lot of things have come around full circle. Like I say, karma's a bitch, and she's my friend. I believe that in all my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like in the Bible, you reap what you sow, and I believe it, and I have seen so much happen since her death that is just. I don't know. I just feel like it's higher power that we're lucky we're even getting to see any of that done. I mean, a little bit of justice here and there, you know?
Right.
And then, you know, I just found out we've been doing some research lately since all this came up in Beverly's interview, and we found out that Tony Cummins, the SBI agent that was involved, who kept coming back to the house, you know, what SBI agent, when it was already said and done that Rex Gore called it a suicide, what SBI agent comes back after the case is closed on December 7th of 2022? I mean, 2000 and it was 1999, December 7th, 1999. You know, right after she was killed.
Yeah.
And say that he's been back to the house 5 to 6 times just to interview with the family. And you know, he was retired. He said he was retiring from the SBI. The next thing we know is, within the next year, he's working for Brunswick County Sheriff's Department with Ronald Hewitt and the detectives that were on the case. And he worked there several years until Ronald Hewitt got busted.
Yeah.
And then he stopped. But we just found out, we were doing some digging, and found out that Tony Cummins is now a private investigator and works on cold cases. And we just found out that Norman McLeod is making tactical gear for police. Isn't that ironic?
When did you find that out? When was this?
I found that out last week.
Wow.
It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's, you know, it's just, I'm speechless too.
Yeah.
It's like, because Norman McLeod is one that moved up to Maine, and they wanted to go do an interview with it, or when the DA, the last DA reopened the case, and had these guys that are retired from the FBI. All of them moved down here. A lot of them on Bald Head, a lot of them at St. James, and they wanted to help with cold cases, and he put them on Davina's case, and we wanted them to go up there and interview Norman McLeod, because he was really strange. Like on Halloween after Davina died, I was staying with my mom and dad full time at that house because of the police coming in and out and everything was going on. But that Halloween right there was close to my birthday, and I was sleeping in the front room with Beverly's oldest daughter, Kayla. And my dad came in the next morning, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. He said, "Tanya, why is your mama's van parked in the middle of the road?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, you and Kayla were out there, you know, doing the trick-or-treaters and stuff, and it's had my mask on, scaring them." He said, "Why did y'all leave the van in the road?" And I said, "We didn't." And so I went out there and looked. I said, "Daddy, don't touch it, don't touch it." It was parked in the middle of the road in front of the house, which we left Mom and Daddy always left the keys and stuff in the vehicles. And he said, "Well, what in the world?" I said, "Daddy, I swear, we never even moved the cars. They were left there." So he got on the phone and called Norman McLeod and an Oak Island police officer to come. Well, when they came, they went and inspected it. They looked inside. The gas was completely on empty, but there was blood on the steering wheel. Apparently it was blood because Mama's van was clean. Mm-hmm. The top of the thing that covers over your head was pulled loose, and Norman McLeod just got in it, drove it back up in the driveway, and said, "It's fine." He said, "It's probably a bunch of kids with a Halloween joke." And I said, "Norman, What kids are going to steal the van and take it off and drive it till it's empty and then park it back at the house, in front of the house, in the middle of the road?
Wow.
It terrified me. Mom and Daddy blew it off. Mama didn't even comment about it. But Daddy's like, well, it's nothing. But you got to remember, everything that happened with Davina was so fresh. But to me, that was one thing. To me, that was a sign, like, or a warning. I took it as a warning. But that's weird.
Very,
very weird.
And see, that's something that, I was talking to Elaine that wrote the book, and she said, that's something that you need to tell people. People don't, and I said, I know, I had forgotten about that, but a lot of little things happened, that weren't told, and it's Daddy's good friend. He worked he was high up in the police department in Charlotte, and he asked him about Tony Cummins coming back and sitting down and talking with the family. He goes, that is unheard of. The case is closed. The DA called it a suicide. Why is he still coming back and asking questions? But apparently, I guess he was still investigating.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, he did it. We got tape recordings of it. Wow. I told Mom and Daddy, I said, if he's coming, I said, we need to have tape records. I said, because we keep forgetting. We're too emotional. I said, let's hide the tape recorder and record it. And we recorded every one.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, I guess when you're emotional, I wouldn't have been that smart if I hadn't been pregnant. It was like God, I swear, it was like God intervened like you would not believe. Because otherwise, if I had not been pregnant, this girl would have been over on Bald Head finding out about the cocaine, finding out about the ones that we talked about that lived over there. I'd have been right in the middle of it, and I'd probably been the next one killed.
What would be some things Davina would tell you about that was going on the island? Some things she saw.
Oh gosh, she would talk about like how there was always activity on the other end of the island. She loved doing the EMT calls because she was really helping somebody. Mm-hmm. She said it was always like a little things, a golf cart stolen or this or that. But she would say, Tanya, she said, I know there's drug running. And I said, well, it's been going on for years, Davina. They've always said, I said, I know a bunch of fishermen. I know guys I used to date. They would talk about how drugs would wash up on Bald Head. Because of the way the water is, and that's at the mouth of the Cape Fear River, and how it's a perfect place for it to wash over, the sandbars and go toward Corn Cake Inlet, which is toward Carolina Beach.
Yep.
And they get stuck there, and I mean, and they didn't check nothing when I worked over there. We got on and off the boat all the time. People got on and off the boat with luggage, got on the boat. We went over there after the same week after me and a friend of mine, another guy, he took his boat over there and took us over there so that we could walk around, and that's when I went to the lighthouse and counted like 67 to 72 names in the login of the lighthouse that Saturday after her death. But I didn't go until the next week to go over there because I didn't want anybody to know I was going over there. So we took a boat over there. We never had to check in. We docked and we walked, and which is right there near the marina. We walked over there to it, and yeah, I mean, it was like nobody ever checked our boat. They didn't check us in, nothing. And when I worked over there, they didn't do it. I mean,
so you could have carried whatever.
People getting off the boat with the luggage, and those guys with the trams that made the money that I went to school with that made that money, they worked the trams, and they said, oh, we get big money for taking all that heavy luggage and stuff. Who knows what? In fact, Janet Storms was one of the first FBI people that came to our house, and she's the first one that signed that book that was at the door, and when the funeral home brought it. Yeah. And she told us, she said, not all money is legal money, and not all money is good money. A lot of money is evil money. And she said there could be the biggest methamphetamine lab on Bald Head and we'd never know it. And those were her exact words.
Good gracious.
Yeah, I'm floored.
It's just,
But see, that was, the day of, or the day,
right.
So Davina was telling you things about a storage unit. She saw people taking some stuff to a storage unit and putting stuff in, and she did a background check on that too.
Yeah, but she never told me much about that.
Uh-huh.
She said a little bit about it. She said she had seen some activity, and she said, so many people had some complaints against her. She said, sis, she said, I don't know what to do. But she said, I'm going on with my life. I don't want to do this anymore. She said, I've already got a call from an interview for a job at Western Carolina University. I said, for what? And she said, I guess a police officer on campus. She said, I'm going to go take a test. I'm going to take my EMT exam in Raleigh. And I said, when? And she said, like next week. So this was a few months before she was murdered. And I will never forget, I was at Mom and Daddy's house, just happened to be there, and she pulled in the driveway and she said, guess what? She said, I passed my EMT exam. I said, nobody passes that the first time. She said, that's what I want to do. I want to get out of police work, and I want to be a paramedic. And our cousin was a paramedic in California.
Yeah.
And she had talked to Aunt Pat, his mom, and how much he loved it and how he felt like he was really doing good. And she would be good with that because she was always mothering us. If me and Beverly got hurt, or the horses got hurt, or the dog got hurt, she was the one that we went to. She was Mama Davina. She fixed it.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about her relationship with Scott Monson.
Well, Scott and her, she really cared a lot for Scott. And he came to, a few Christmas, I guess he was at the Christmas that year before they graduated, or she graduated. So actually she had been with him for a while. And then he was with us when she graduated. He was already a police officer. So he was with us, me, Mom, and Daddy, and Davina when she graduated from in Wilmington at Cape Fear. Mm-hmm. And went out to dinner with us. He was kind of quiet. Which, Davina, you can't hardly get a word in around all of us. Mama was quiet too, but Scott was kind of quiet. But I thought he genuinely cared about her. But she said, I don't know, Tanya. She said, he's like, lead me on. He's still got feelings for his wife. So, his ex-wife. I think he's going to go back to her. He still gets her to do his laundry sometimes. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And I said, that's not cool. And she's like, yeah, but it's all right. But I liked him a whole lot better than I liked the Will Hewitt.
Yeah.
That she dated. And that's Norman McLeod and Will Hewitt are my biggest suspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Will was on the mainland at the depot at the ferry landing the night she was murdered. He was sitting there talking to the girl that stayed at the depot that night, and he was there that night. And he had access to a boat. So he was obsessed with my sister. He would go knock on her door, and I'd be talking to her on the phone. Laura in Texas, her best friend, would be talking to her on the phone, and we'd tell her, just act like you're not there. Don't answer. And see, she would always go to bed early. She was an early riser. She'd go to bed early. Just keep your lights off, and maybe he'll think you're asleep and you're gone with somebody or whatever. But when it was all done and said, my mom was like, Will's come by a couple of times. He wants all the cards and letters we've gotten, that we've gotten out of the house. And I was like, why? And she goes, I don't know, but he wants them. Let him have them. And I was like, why, Mama? She said, just let him have them. And we did. And we wish we hadn't. That was hindsight. We wish we hadn't.
Yeah, right.
But Mama didn't ask for much at that time. She was the one that was holding everything in and trying to keep the family together.
Yeah.
She was the strong one. And Beverly was too. Beverly, she's like Mama. She's the one that's the practical one, and me and Daddy are the emotional ones. And Davina, I don't know. I just think that Will Hewitt has something to do with it too.
Sure seems like it.
And in her voice on that recording, when she called CCOM, the SBI said, well, she was just too calm. And Janet Storms said, she just sounds too calm. I said, no, she's calm, but I can hear it in her voice. She is scared. I said, it's just something in her voice that she's too. And let me tell you something else she used to do. She did not keep that radio up on her shoulder. Her shoulder was too little, and it was aggravating to her. She would keep it on the side of her belt.
Okay.
Yeah.
She always kept that thing down below, unless she had to, for somebody coming in off the ferry, for looks or whatever. But she most of the time kept it low near her belt because, she was so small. And, back then, we didn't have cell phones, so if I needed to reach her, she had a beeper.
Right.
And she had her beeper on the other side.
Something I want to talk about is there was a call came into the Bald Head Police Department saying that there was a golf cart that was stolen from the River Pilot restaurant.
Right.
Tell us some stuff about that.
To everything that's about that is in the book too. But the thing about what aggravates me the most is nobody to this day even knows who that golf cart belonged to.
Right.
We cannot. We have tried everything in our power to find out what was so big deal about that golf cart. But they were called to the marina, to where it was at the River Pilot or whatever, and then it's still that golf cart. It was all about that golf cart that night.
Right, we were talking about this today because, as we went back and listened to our old stuff, and it said when they got there that the restaurant was closed and nobody even knew anything. So we're like, was there even a damn golf cart gone, or was this just a call to lead her out somewhere?
I don't know. That is something that is a mystery to me.
Mm-hmm. And you saying you couldn't figure out whose it was, so maybe it's even more mysterious.
I don't know. That's something that I probably will never know. But yeah, that's a mystery.
Yeah. But now there's a shot from a helicopter from the crime scene there at Old Baldy, and there's a golf cart seen in the photograph.
Yeah.
Is that
they said that's the same golf cart. They told us that was the same golf cart that she had to call for because we asked about it.
Yeah.
So how did it get moved? Who moved it?
Right.
Yeah.
Why was it moved? I don't. That right there is a big. That's something that's really big that I don't understand.
Yeah. Why would she have left that night to go to dinner? The night she was killed, she left the headquarters and she went and called Scott at the payphone at the marina.
Right.
Why would she have left? Would it have been just to call Scott or just to go out and ride around?
Probably. It probably was. Because, they had a good conversation.
Yeah.
They had a good conversation, and she had already done her paperwork or whatever, and I think Keith was in there doing his paperwork or whatever. And, I know that she eats, pretty much constantly. And then, she did like to smoke her cigarettes, which is something that we all didn't like. I didn't like. But anyway, I think what she did was she wanted to go call Scott, and they had a good conversation, and she said, well, okay, I'll talk to you later, and he said, yeah, good, it's good talking to you, I'll talk to you later. And they were remaining friends even though they were broke up.
Yeah.
But I think that's the main reason she left, because she couldn't call from the office.
Yeah. Probably did that and then go smoke a cigarette or something.
Yeah.
To go up there and chill.
But then she heads back toward Old Baldy, and that's when she comes upon the three guys there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're three guys. I do know that the way she said it.
Yeah, she's out with three.
She did not. I think she recognized them, but I don't think she knew who they were. Because the way she said, there's no guns on Bald Head Island. I think the one that killed her is the one that she knew. and he killed her. He came up from behind. I think they got her attention, and then who killed her came up from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it went down that way.
That's the way I feel. They tried to tell us that she went over there and got down on her knees and put the gun upside down. So
That's stupid.
We did it. We did it in federal court in Wilmington for the state and proved it. We had gotten her gun. They had put her gun back in circulation to be used by the police in Ballhead.
Why was that gun not put in evidence?
That's where we've never had her pants and we've never had her shoes. We don't know where they are. But that's what we asked in federal court. The judge was floored. Her mouth was open. And then we had a woman with the same arm length, and we got her gun back. Henry Foy, my dad's attorney, got that gun back as evidence for that
same
case.
gun.
And the same gun, and put it in this woman's hand that was the same length arm, and then she showed in court that it was impossible every which way but lose. She came down off the stand and stood in front of everybody and showed it. And she said, I can't even do it with my finger, much less this gun.
Wow. I never knew that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was in court. And then, the state appealed that. But, I mean, it was a slam dunk case. And something else, too. Gene Hardy really wasn't on our side. We didn't feel like he was on our side. Karen Grasty was, but we didn't feel Gene Hardy was. But the prosecution asked Gene Hardy to testify for them, and he refused. He was retired by then, and he testified for us. And it was all good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think he was scared to do anything with, the town council and the people they had over there at the time. And I think it goes all the way up. I swear I do. I think it goes all the way up. I mean, even our governor right now was attorney general then, and I wish I went and looked through papers to find that letter that he wrote. Mike Easley wrote my dad a letter back, and Governor Cooper wrote my dad a letter, and they were pure nasty. And I looked through pages and papers, and there's nothing but boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. Which no family gets that. Nobody is allowed to have that. But the only reason Daddy got it is because his attorney, that was his last case. And when he was done and they appealed it, he handed everything over to Daddy, and he said, here, get you a good lawyer. And he said, and he'll take it to, and that's what he had all the stuff in his possession. The autopsy photos we never saw. We didn't want to see. But Beverly and Daddy and Henry Foy, they went through them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And looked at them. And then when the second case, when the Industrial Commission, we had to go in front of the Industrial Commission, which was the appeal. We won that in front of the judges. But then the Department of Justice got involved. And that was because my mom had a cousin that was a JAG attorney with the Pentagon. And he said, you're always getting the runaround. Baldhead's blaming the SBI, SBI's blaming Brunswick County, and they all a bunch of monkeys.
Yep.
And that's how the Department of Justice got involved. And that was a big deal, and we couldn't hire an attorney to do it. So Daddy and Beverly did it and presented it in front of this man in a local hotel in Southport. And we won that case. Yeah. But it doesn't even come up to near the amount of money that Daddy spent on Martinez, the crime scene specialist from Dallas, Texas, and the private investigator, and all that Daddy spent to fight for her.
So tell us a little bit about that. I didn't heard this either, about the crime scene specialist.
Oh, that's Martinez reports. He hired a crime scene investigator, and he was from Dallas, Texas. He never came up here. Daddy just sent him all that he had, sent copies of all that he had that Henry Foy had given him. And he determined that it was definitely not a suicide, that it was a homicide.
It blows my mind that they even can try to pull that mess that it's a suicide, because there's nothing about any of this that even resembles it would be a suicide. Nothing.
They tried to talk us into it, though. They said, oh, she was out, blah, blah, blah. I said she was doing the best she'd ever done.
Right.
She was doing the best she had ever done. Me and her were the closest we had been in years.
And if she had anything going on, she would have told you.
I think she would have. And, Harry, her first husband, I loved dearly. He was a lot older than her. She married him, but I loved him because he rode horses and we all hung out. And he was really good. It was just, I don't know. She just like Beverly said, she was the one that gave all. And then when they quit giving, they expected. And I'm not going to say most men are like that, but most men are like that. And I'm saying that from experience. But then when she married Jeff, and then Jeff had some things that, he had going on with his ex-wife, and her ex-wife didn't get along. His ex-wife didn't get along and stuff. Jeff was he was a good guy, but she was not happy in that marriage. And she grew tired of being married to Harry, but she was not happy in Jeff and her's marriage. But they both were there. All her ex-boyfriends from school, the memorial service in Southport, every single one of them was there. One of them lost his job. They fired him. He lived in North Wilkesboro. They fired him for coming down here. Max was his name.
Wow.
And he said he didn't care. He said, Tanya, I wanted to be there. Every one of her boyfriends, her ex-husbands were both there.
That is awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That shows a lot.
How much she was thought of.
It was just, God, it seems like yesterday, then it seems like forever ago.
Let's talk some Norman McLeod.
Okay.
Why?
I love it.
Yeah, okay. From the very get-go, he was at your parents' house answering the phone.
Yep, I never met him. I knew about him from Davina. Beverly didn't know about him. Beverly was like, who the hell is that? I said, that's Norman McLeod. It's with the FOP. He was, he got her to join the FOP, but he was the one, I told you about that was riding around, and she was riding, like during Hurricane Dennis, she rode around with him, and then she helped a lot on the ambulance with the EMTs, and she said that, that's what she would rather do.
Mm-hmm.
But Norman, just like what I said, what he did with the mama's van, it was just like, it ain't no big. I said, well, you don't think this? He said, oh no, it's nothing. It's just a bunch of teenagers. That doesn't make a bit of sense to me. But every time he was around, and then when he drove us, like Beverly said, to the house, he had the key to the house. Mom and Daddy didn't give him the key. Mom and Daddy gave the key up the night that the door was knocked on to tell them about Davina's death. They got the key to Davina's house, and Larry Jones went with Mom and Daddy to go get Davina's. They didn't want anything touched in her house.
Of course,
so, the dogs. And if Davina was working overtime or whatever, she would bring the dogs to Mom and Daddy's. Like during a hurricane, she might stay over there 2 or 3 days. The dogs would stay at Mom and Daddy's.
Right.
But they went over there to get the dogs, and she had where they could go in and out the back door because it was gated, but she left the door rigged open, so she did, would let Adam and Precious out so they could go to the bathroom so they wouldn't make a mess in the house. But they got the dogs, and then they got home, and apparently Larry kept the key. And then the next thing we know is the SBI had the key, and they gave it to Norman because when Beverly got here on Saturday afternoon, that we wanted to go to her house. We wanted to get some pictures for, we wanted to get a few things, and that's where we found the list on the table. That's where we found, where Mom and Daddy said the door was left open in the back for the dogs, and they had closed it, when they locked up the house when they got the dogs. But then that's when Norman, he opened the door and said, no, it's still under investigation. Y'all can't really touch anything. You can't take it. I said, what about pictures? We want to get some pictures and take, have it at the house. And we grabbed some framed pictures and stuff of her with her dogs and stuff like that. That, Mom and Daddy had some, but we wanted to put some more because we knew we were going to have a lot of people coming to the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was strange. Like Beverly said, I asked him point blank. I was sitting in the front seat, and we were going to go, and my mom and dad's best friend, she said, Linda Miller, she said, no, y'all are not going with him without me. And we were like, okay, Linda, you can ride with us. She said, I'm going with y'all. And she sat in the back with Beverly, and he drove, and he had his car, and we went down there, and we accidentally drove past her street, which was 12th Street, and drove up 13th Street. But when we got in there, before we got there, I asked him point blank. I looked at him, and I said, well, where was she shot? Because I already knew. When Mom and Daddy came to my house at 7 o'clock that morning, by the time I drove Mama home from my house, I'd already called a friend of mine that worked at Baldhead, and I said, what have you heard? He said, I heard one thing, and he said, I can't say anything else about it, but I'm telling you, I heard she was shot execution style. And I said, that's all I needed to know. And I said, okay. So I already knew, like right when Daddy was, I think Daddy was even on he had called Beverly from my house to let her know, and then she had to make arrangements to get here. But when I asked Norman McLeod, he said, yeah, he put his finger like right above his right ear, and he said it entered here and exited there. And I said, okay, all right.
Holy
and I looked back at Beverly and Linda, but Linda didn't know, but I had already told Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly and I were the only ones to know. Daddy and Mama didn't even know when we got her body back on Saturday evening, and we could view it that night with the family here. Mama and Daddy knew she was shot, but they had no clue where. And I was like on the phone with the Bill Noonan that owned the funeral home, and he said, Tanya, I will call you directly. He said, I don't know what kind of state her body's going to be in. And I looked at him and I winked and I said, I understand. And he shook his head, but he was in tears because he and my dad would play golf together. I mean, he was shook up as my mom and dad, but I had everything together. It was like I was handling everything and God was helping me.
Yeah.
And I just told him, I let him know when Mom and Daddy weren't in the room. I walked up, they were looking at urns because we wanted to have her cremated. And I said, I don't care what it takes or what we have to do. I want to see her body. I already know. I said, but he said, Tanya, I'll call you as soon as I get her, I will know. And then he called me and said, Tanya, y'all can come in the next few hours if you want to. And I said, well, the family's here. I said, we will. And he said, what do you want me to do? I said, just put her on a gurney or whatever and put the sheet all the way up to her neck. And he goes, okay, that's what we usually do. And, we don't embalm. And I said, okay, I didn't know that. I'd never dealt with that. I said, okay, that's fine. And she looked like an angel laying there. But, yeah, when everybody come in, which I waited and let Mom and Daddy go first, and then like his sister and husbands were here, and his other sister and husband were here, and a lot of the close family. It was all immediate family, and there was a bunch of us. There was probably about 20 of us, and they all went in and was viewing her and whatever. And then when everybody left, I walked over there and I picked her head up and I saw where it shaved and I saw it. And it was, and I hadn't seen any autopsy photos at this time. We didn't even know there was a CCOM call at this time.
Oh, wow.
They didn't tell us. Ronald Hewitt came to the house on Sunday after Saturday and pulled me and my dad and Beverly's husband, Hank, into a spare bedroom and said, we just want to let you know that she was definitely killed with her own gun. And I said, okay. I said, I understand that. And I didn't let him know that I knew, anything. I didn't say anything about anything. And he said, also, I need to let y'all know that they're going to be releasing it on the news media, on the news channels, her last call to CCOM. I said, what? And he goes, yeah. I said, why hasn't somebody told us that she made a last call to CCOM? That was the first I had heard about it. And so that came out, I think that was Monday. Yeah, because we had the memorial service on Tuesday, and the reason we put it off till Tuesday to wait till my mom flew in from, my mom's only brother flew in. He's a colonel in the Air Force from California, and he flew into Raleigh, and FOP made sure a police officer picked him up from Raleigh because Davina was a member of FOP. They had beach houses they had for family members because she was a member with FOP. And that organization was fantastic in helping her through the issues she's had with the problems she was having with the Bento. But, you know, and the sexual harassment thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, to me, all of this combined, it was like, why didn't y'all tell us this? You know, we have a right to know, except for the day before, you know, they're going to
put it on the news.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Nobody really wanted to talk to us.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Except you know, the one who really wanted to talk to us about it all over and over and over again was the SBI agent Tony Cummings that was higher than Janet Storms, that was retiring from the SBI after it was all said and done. That's the it's just confusing. It's also so
Who was it?
Dale, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, that's all right. It's fine. I can understand why Dale's pissed off, because I mean, I get
yeah, this pisses Dale off big time.
Man,
who was? And well, tell me about there was somebody that came to your mom and dad's house and they left a notebook. You was telling me about, or some kind of files.
No, what happened was, I think what y'all were talking about is that Davina's journals and stuff we had gathered up. Daddy said Janet Storm wanted, you know, like her journals and stuff. They had gone through some things, but they didn't, you know, get all the journals. And Mom and Daddy had put them in a box. Well, me and Beverly had read some of them, and I'd read, you know, a lot of them. But Davina always kept journals. I mean, you know, she still got journals of her, you know, trips she made across country for her graduation present. And she always would write down journals. But no, Janet Storm came to the house to get the journals to pick them up for the investigation, and that's something that we never have recovered. We don't know where they went. That's something that was not in all that stuff that my dad's attorney had after that first court appearance. We never got that back.
Wow, I was going to ask you about if you found out anything in those journals.
No, I read a couple of them, you know, she had a deal with her and with Will and Scott getting an argument at the wildlife landing, and I knew all about it because she told me about it. And I said, what did they get into? And she said, well, Scott was on duty. And she said, me and Will were down there, and he had his boat. And she said, I had gone down there and met Will, and we were talking and everything. And she said, I don't know how Scott found out, but he came down there. And she said, and he and Will got in an argument, a shouting match. But that was in that journal. So, but it was nothing. I mean, nothing ever came of it.
Do you think those things are just in an evidence box somewhere stored?
You know, I don't think so, because they didn't have nothing. I mean, Daddy had to give John David a lot of stuff that he had, copies of a lot of stuff he had, just so John David could reevaluate the case.
And that was the new Attorney General who came in?
DA.
That was the new DA. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you talked to John David any? I mean, does he communicate with y'all any at all?
Anymore?
Not in a lot. I see him. I take that back. It's been a few years since before COVID, but they always have a candlelight vigil the Friday night before Thanksgiving. It's the Friday night before Thanksgiving, and they had stopped doing it during COVID for all it's crimes. It's victims. It's for victims of crimes, and it's a candlelight vigil for people that are shot and or killed in domestic violence, DUI, and homicides. and it's a big deal. It's 3 counties. It's Pender, well, actually more. It's Columbus, Pender, New Hanover, and Brunswick County. And they have it at a church in Wilmington like one year, and then they have it in Brunswick County the next year. But I haven't been in 3 years, but I was just talking today with a friend of mine that was my neighbor, and she said, yeah, that it's going to be a big deal again this year. They're not going to do it, remotely like they have been because of COVID. So she and I both talked about it, and I said, well, I really want to go because I love going there, because they name every person that was murdered or victims of these crimes.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think is important. And I see John David every time, and he always gives me a hug.
I just didn't know how much contact he has with you, or
no, I haven't talked to him in years. I mean, like I said, it's been years since it was before. Yeah, Mama died March 2020, and that was COVID. That was right after she was the last service we had in our church, and then then the last few years they've done it remotely. So I haven't been since 2019. That was the last one I went to.
Yeah.
You said they told you that she was killed with her own gun. How do they know that?
No, he didn't. He said when Ronald Hewitt said, he didn't explain anything by it. He just said that he said her gun was the one used to kill her. That was what he said. Her gun. He said she was killed with her own gun. Her gun was the one used to kill her.
Well, I guess if they were going to try to frame her, that would be the smart thing to do. But
Ronald Hewitt said it right there. Hank was in the room, and Daddy was in the room, and I was in the room. There was a lot of people still at the house, which, I mean, the house was always had a lot of people there, but...
So that even blows my mind more that the gun didn't go to evidence, because I didn't realize that until you said that.
No, it was back in circulation. That's never been done. I mean, there's a man that's a retired, big high-time retired police officer from Columbia, South Carolina, that used to come down here on vacation and got the book at Bullfrog Corner in Southport, and he got in touch with the family, and he's trying to get her name on the wall in Washington, D.C., and her name is on the wall in Florida. It is, because the mayor went down there with her husband, and they scratched it off, and we've got that one in Florida. And and we get things all the time from the police, the concern for police survivors, and Daddy still gets letters from them. But yeah, definitely, they put it right in. And Mr. God, I can't think of the man's name, the man I'm talking about, but he donated the books to be put in Pembroke University, and the police officers that go to Pembroke University have to write an essay, and whoever wins the essay on that book, on this book about Davina, Out with 3, then they win $1,000 scholarship towards whatever they want. And every year it's done, and we've had a few people that won it and came down and met Mom and Daddy and stuff. But yeah, he's really been an advocate for Davina and pushing that. But he's like, that's unheard of. He said, he said, I've contacted friends, and they're doing schooling and police cadets and stuff on what not to do on your sister's case. And he said the fact that they put her gun back in circulation has never been, it's unheard of.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Especially if they think it was what she was killed with. What in the hell's going on here?
Yeah, but I mean, I've even heard that they destroy the weapons sometimes. But
yeah,
they didn't just put it in a box and lock and key. They gave it to another officer to use.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, because before we started recording, we have a guy from Gaston County. He's went through with the FBI, and he's a retired police officer. And I texted him just real quick before we started, asking him what would be done with a officer that was killed in the line of duty. What would be done with their service weapon? And he said it would be put into evidence.
Yeah, well,
Especially
what?
if it was a murder.
Yeah.
Same with her shoes. Same with her pants. We would like to see, that her pants If there's scuff marks from the drag marks, or are there drag marks from her shoes, where are they?
Yeah, they're not going to show you those either, because if you shoot yourself, you're going to drag yourself around a car, right?
Exactly. However many feet, 30-some feet away, with a bloody palm print on the back of your truck.
Yeah.
That's your blood.
Yeah, you're going to do that too, all by yourself.
Yeah.
It just to me it was the worst nightmare a family could ever go through. I said, you know what?
Well, it's never
My daddy said, you know what? We're gonna fight. Do y'all want to fight? And he said, I'm sitting you down. He sat Mama down. He sat me down and Beverly down. It was just us four. He said, now I would do this for either one of you girls. He said, but I'm telling you right now. He said, you're with me. He said, we'll fight. We will fight till the end. And we were like, Daddy, yeah, we're with you. We'll fight. And he didn't give up.
Well, y'all girls haven't give up at all.
It's in our heart.
I know.
We live with it every day, but to know what true hell on earth is, that is it. No, I take that back. I think the true hell on earth would be to have your child taken from you and you never know, and that phone rings all the time and you never know.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that would be the worst hell.
I agree.
But I don't know what it's like to lose a child. I know what it's like to lose my sister, but God knows how my parents functioned, how they got through it, how they stayed together. All the people that I've met that's lost children and they're not together no more.
Yep.
Because they couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and end up blaming each other somewhere down the road, even though it's neither one of them's fault, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then both my parents to get dementia the way they did. Dr. Reshley was Davina's doctor as well as my parents' doctor. And I saw him about 5 years ago at the yacht club. I was bartending, helping out at the yacht club. And he says, Tanya, and he gave me the biggest hug. And he goes, I'm so sorry about Lori and Harriet. And he said, I just went through beating leukemia, that I kept working through it, and my wife didn't think I was going to make it, but it's mind over matter. He said, but your parents to both have dementia, he said, that's a blessing. And I said, Dr. Reshley, I dropped my mouth and I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, to be lost in your own mind and think about better days and younger days and all that, what a way to go. And I said, oh my God. And I started crying, and he goes, it's harder on us than it is them.
Yeah.
And I told somebody that at my 40th reunion the other weekend. She's taking care of her mom. And when I told her that, she's a preacher. I didn't even know she's a preacher. And I told her that story, what he said, and she said, oh my God, Tanya. She said, that helps me so much. I said, yeah, it does.
I've never even thought about it that way.
Mm-mm.
But to come from a doctor, and it happened to be Davina's daughter and Mom and Daddy's daughter, that's just, I would have never thought about it. And, it's true. She says, my sister can't handle it. I said, listen, it's hard. It was the hardest thing I ever did, was take care of my parents. But you know what? They were both at peace.
Totally, yeah.
Mama would not, the last few years she couldn't talk. She was on oxygen. But if you had it on a police show, like that live PD, oh my God, if you turn the channel to that live PD, she'd be pointing and scowling at you. She was like, you better turn that. But now she loved Blue Bloods. That's the last show she watched the night before she died. Or the week she died. That was a Friday night, and that was the last time she was coherent and awake. Was Blue Bloods that night, that Friday night, and she died Sunday night. She loved that show.
That's awesome. Tanya, is there anything else you want to tell us about Davina's case that we haven't talked about? When you listen to the episode we did with Beverly and our other episode, but is there anything you want to add to it?
What about Norman and the damn fatigues or the damn...
Yeah, let's talk about Norman McLeod.
Sorry to bring us back up, but that was something I wanted to ask you before.
With camouflage.
The camouflage and the
see,
mysterious broken leg or
Karen,
whatever.
I believe, Karen Grassie's daughter and Davina were close. And I'm going to tell you what, I believe he was over there. There's no doubt in my mind. The way he told the story about he was at Turkey Trap Road, which was closer to Cedar Grove, which is in the middle of Bolivia. So he's probably a ways away, closer to Holden Beach than he is to Long Beach or Oak Island and Bald Head. And he fell off the steps, and he was at the Dozier Hospital when all that. But, yeah, to know that he was seen over there, he is somebody that's unforgettable.
Yeah.
He's one of those people that he's so cocky. He's one of those that sticks his chest out, and you know that he's going to let you know who he is.
Yeah.
And I believe he was over there, and there's no doubt. And she even told me that she had given him a ticket. But the thing about it is, the most that I asked him personally when he came to the house afterwards. I said, "Okay, so when he was answering the phone and he got the wreath for the mailbox, he said, I'm going to answer the phone for y'all, whatever, so y'all can welcome people coming in." And I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't want to answer the phone. It was ringing off the hook. But, I mean, I didn't necessarily want him answering the phone, but isn't that just ironic that he wanted to be there to hear everything?
Right, exactly.
Mr. Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, to me.
And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, to me, when she, with this Hour 3 thing, and they think she was shot from behind, I'm thinking Mr. Camouflage is the perfect damn person to do that.
Yep.
Especially he's going to have a radio or something to cause that squelch. And if he come up behind her and snatched her gun, and he could have done it right there.
Exactly.
While she's looking the other way.
And he was built. He was muscular. It wouldn't have took him nothing to take her down from behind or what. And that explains the squelch with the radio very easily to me.
Right, yeah.
That it was another radio there.
Close, yes.
One that is a police radio.
And the mysterious channel switching and switching back.
That is another. That's about as crazy as the freaking golf cart.
Yeah. I was listening to that today. I'm going, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much. And, I mean, him, and let me tell you this. This is something I just remembered. I was talking about this. I said that night that she died, I had gone to a friend's birthday party in Bowling Springs. And, everybody was, had to cook out outside. I was there about 11 o'clock, 11:15. We were all cooking outside. Next thing you know, there is a plane with full lights coming at treetop level, straight down the railroad track, straight directly from Bald Head Island, right over our heads. And everybody there was like, "Is it crashing? What's it doing so low? Why are the lights on?" I was like, "I don't know." And we were all making comments about it. And I drove home that night, and that plane bothered me. But I remember going down Tanford Road, and I saw a shooting star, and I was like, well, there's a shooting star. I said, that's a good thing. I said, you're supposed to make a wish. And I made a wish. I don't even remember what I made a wish saying, but I just made a wish, and I went home. And the next morning, my mom and dad are in my bedroom at 7 o'clock telling me Davina's dead.
Holy cow.
And that is ironic that it was that same night, but
very much
that happened all the time around here with the deer hunters and friends of mine. They would say, "Oh yeah, they'd be out there at night. They didn't have their guns with them, but they're out there at night. They're using Federal Paper Company. They rented that land for hunting, and so they're out there they got the keys to the gates. They're out there, and then all of a sudden, these police officers are showing up. Y'all can't be out here. Y'all don't do it." And then they're searching their vehicle, make sure they don't have guns, so they're not, killing deer at night. But They're just shining the lights, putting corn out, whatever, riding around. Really, what they were doing was riding around drinking beer on the dirt road. A lot of people do that. But the cops were not concerned about that. They just wanted them to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
don't be down in here, this area where the plane just dropped something off.
And Norman McLeod was at one of them, and I know this for a fact because they asked him his name. He said, "I'm Officer McLeod." And he said, and the other cops pulled up, and he said, "No, I want y'all to go in the green swamp." He said, "Y'all need to go in the green swamp." He said, "That's where we need to find that plane." And that the two guys that I know said that. I knew them very well, and this was way before Davina's death. And that's right there beside where I live. You know, it's just a lot of things have gone on here that. But I think it goes all the way up. I think it goes all the way up. I think that's why they couldn't have a little police officer knowing too much of what's going on at Bald Head Island, and it'll, destroy their reputation and everything.
Me too. Me too. You know, I told Donnie today, and I'm sorry if I cut you off, when she got in trouble, and then she went over the head of, what was the lady's name who was on leave?
Karen Grasty.
Yeah, when she went over her head and she come back and she got on her and she said, this is a firing offense and I could fire you, but I'm not. I told her that it's a damn shame she didn't fire her right here. That we wouldn't even be talking about this.
I know. But even Karen Grasty, when she died, her death was mysterious.
What was up with her death?
She got real ill after everything happened. You know, she was fighting with the town council. She was fighting with Bald Head Island management. And I think that she just finally took the leave and left not long after Davina's death. But, I mean, she testified, for us too. But her health was really bad because she had back surgery. That's what she was out, with back surgery. Yeah. And she was so furious about it. And her and Gene Hardy came to the house on my birthday on November 2nd, because I remember the day they came. They sat down in Mom and Daddy's house and they said, we are doing everything in our power, to find out everything we can, but we're limited of what we can do, and she said, and she told my dad some things privately, but she talked to him privately, and I never saw any of that or heard any of those conversations. But, she was still working at Bald Head. But, they said, we're getting now where we can't really talk to y'all because it's out of our hands. And she said, but that's when, we figured they were going to go. Well, the $50,000 reward was still out there. People were calling left and right that our, private investigator, and then put that out there. Because we hired him pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
that was Monty, wasn't it?
Monty Clark, yes. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, it's just unbelievable that
the damn cover up and corruption of this just blows my damn mind. From the time where she was killed, and then they come up there and then they just trash the crime scene, throw the gun around, do this. Then they act like they got to get her out of there so quick. They grab her up, just sling her on a gurney, and take her and then leave her on the damn thing. She
was a piece of trash. To me, they were treating her like a piece of trash. I've seen the pictures, the autopsy pictures of her laying bare right there with blood coming out her head on the gurney, not covered up.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody that came on that island was gawking at her. That's the first place they came when they got off the ferry. When Norman McLeod went to the hospital and he rode with Ronald Hewitt, they left the Sunny Point terminal, the military terminal, and I don't know if they used a Sunny Point boat or a Coast Guard boat. I just know they left the Sunny Point military terminal to get to Bald Head. And I do know that for a fact. But I don't know if it was a Coast Guard boat or a Sunny Point boat that took them over to the island. But everybody that got to that island, there was police galore. Everybody they let everybody on the island. Everybody from Brunswick County, Southport Chief Dove, he was a real good friend of my dad's. Had been a friend for years. He used to be a highway patrolman, came down here, and he was chief of Southport, and he brought the dogs over, and they made him leave.
Wow.
And the dogs, they told him to leave and he even saw her laying there uncovered.
God almighty. And meanwhile, they're up here with a damn fire hose just blowing everything away.
And let me tell you something about Kent Brown. That man is a piece of crap. Because I confronted him and did not know who he was, because I used to do fundraisers for the town of Long Beach. And we had built a brand new fire department. And I was working because I landscaped. My mom had the garden center, and I was landscaping. And I was taking care of everything there. And he came there, and I said, oh, well, you're the new fire chief. I said, I know Tim and, all these guys from here. And he goes, I said, what's your name? And he said, my name's Kent. I said, Kent what? He said, Kent Brown. I said, oh, my God. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, you've got to be kidding me. And he just looked at me and I said, I'm Tanya Buff. I am Tanya Buff. I said, I am Davina Buff Jones's sister. He turned around and went right back in that building. I left. I was supposed to still do landscaping. I was so furious, I left. When I called the town manager and one of my friends that worked in the office up there. I said, how long has he been here? They said, he's not been here long. I said, well, y'all need to get somebody else to do landscaping around that fire department.
God almighty. I could not believe they'd done that mess. And then your sister told us that they were using the ambulance to haul people around the next day, so that's why they had to get it all cleaned up and everything.
Kent Brown was a piece of crap, too. I see, and why? Where did he go? That's another mysterious.
Right, yeah, he had to go somewhere. Right in the middle of it.
Where is he going to go in the middle of the night? It's midnight on a Friday night. I mean, in October, the height of the... Well, there might have been a lot of people on the island because of that big wedding. There sure was a lot of people that signed in on that log in the lighthouse the next day.
Yeah, but in the middle of this incident going on with the police officer shot, and you got to leave. You got something else more important to do.
I don't understand that. I don't know, unless he had to go hide. Let's see. Maybe that was his golf cart.
Maybe it was.
Very possible.
Yeah.
He lived over there.
I tell you, this just infuriates me, and I can't imagine what you go through.
Yeah, I can't imagine either.
It's just frustrating. It's so frustrating. But I think a lot of things have happened that I never would have believed would come around. So I might never know who did it. I might never, maybe it's not meant to know, but all I know is that my mom and dad and my sister Davina are doing real well right now.
Oh yeah, they're having a
in
good time.
heaven.
They're having a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear them laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. Tanya, you've told us so much that we didn't even know tonight. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, as much as we dug into this.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sitting here picking my jaw up, and I'm got my Kleenexes out here, and I'm wiping up. I was like, man.
It'll take me a day or two to process all this that I've had to listen to.
Well,
it's crazy.
It's not funny. I'm not laughing. It's actually just a relief. Actually, it's good for me to talk about it.
Absolutely.
It is. It's therapy, and I do have a therapist, and thank God for my therapist. I don't think I'd have gotten through these years without one, but I just cannot imagine the other people in this county that mom and daddy invited in their house that were like, my son was killed, and he was put his hand up, and he was his wife shot him through his hand, through his gut, and killed him, but they said it was a suicide. Can you help us?
God almighty.
Yeah, that was in this county. And those people came to court with us. There were so many couples that had lost their children, and it was closed as a suicide. They came to court with us every day at the federal building in Wilmington.
That's insane.
I just can't believe after all this stuff, and then, I mean, all I love it, I don't know, I guess all the evidence and stuff that comes in, that nobody with any balls would go down there and find out what the hell's going on down there.
It's
like you said, it's way at the top, and that's why.
Yeah, it is. I think that's why. I think exactly that's why.
Yeah, because everybody gets shut down before it gets started.
Oh, I think it goes, definitely to the governor's office at the time. Ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
When you said he wrote a nasty letter to your dad, I'm like, what the hell? I was not expecting you to say that.
I waited on him when he was DA back in 1985 when I was working in Southport as a waitress. I waited on him. God, he was a cheap tipper.
Trash.
Yep.
I'm just saying, it's just a lot of things have come around and gone around. I mean, there's some of them that's paid, but Rex Gore too. God knows, Beverly got his goat. when she got to go see him. She got him good.
Yeah, sneaking
Because
in.
he would never talk to us. Never talk to us.
That was brilliant what she did.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I loved it. I said, go for it. I was just the only thing I hate she didn't do is take a tape recorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I thought you was going to say take you with her.
Oh, no. No. This girl, it would not have done me no good at that time to confront him.
Yep.
Good thing I stayed pretty clean and out of trouble, because if I had to go to that courthouse,
it wouldn't have been good.
No. Yeah, I probably would end up staying there. And knock on wood, I had never been arrested, but to see him face to face.
Well, Tanya, we're definitely not done with Davina's story. I've talked to Elaine, the author of the book.
Right.
And hopefully maybe get her on the show and talk to her about some things, what inspired her to write the book, and, just get her thoughts on some things too.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
She is an awesome person, very intelligent. She's like me. We got CMS, can't remember shit anymore, but you have to research and re-look. But I mean, she's been a great member of the family. She did it for nothing. She didn't make any money on the book at all.
Oh, wow.
None. She didn't want any money.
Well, that
everybody thinks she
shows
made
you right
money.
there.
She did not make money on it. It was like Davina, I mean, me and Mom and Daddy would go to her house and we'd go over stuff and she'd ask questions and stuff, and she's like, and we would go over there, me, Mom and Daddy would go over there, or she'd come to the house, and let me tell you, ever since, she's always been welcome at our house. Thanksgivings, Christmas, she was a member of our family.
Yeah.
She's like a sister to me. And she says Davina talks to her. She said she talked to me since the beginning. And, I knew it was a God thing when I met her, and she had the last 4 digits of her phone number match my mom and dad's, and she'd had it for 20 to 30 years, like my mom and dad had their phone number since he built the house in the 70s, our beach house down at the beach, and it's last 4 numbers are the exact thing, same thing. And I said, oh, this is a God thing, and this is it. Then she, she's the one that, and she was right there with us. She's been there right there with us. And yeah, I mean, I don't see her and talk to her as much as I'd love to. I don't, I need to. I really need to see her more, make more of an effort. But yeah, she's great. She did all this out of the goodness of her heart. She did not want any money for it.
Well, she did a great job on the book.
I think she did.
Yeah.
I think the book is awesome, and God knows I have people calling all the time. How can I get the book? How can I get the book? Well, you can't. I mean, when I took over taking care of Mom and Dad, there was a few cases left, and so I took them to, Bullfrog Corner and Oak Island Restaurant where Daddy sold them for practically nothing, and then Amazon, he was getting them through Amazon, and then once you quit after a while, I guess, of ordering, I was taking care of both of them, and I didn't think about ordering the books, but Daddy really didn't have much money left, and I didn't have money either because I couldn't work taking care of them.
Right.
And it costs a lot to order them cases of books. God knows if I could get them now, boy, I could sell them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because there's people telling me, people I grew up with since kindergarten in Charlotte said, I got this book I ordered it off eBay. He said it cost me, about $350, which some of them I've seen up to $900. But he said your dad signed it inside, and he took a picture of it, sent it to me. And I said, well, Michael, I'm glad you got it, buddy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they're pretty pricey.
Yes, they are. Well, Tony, is there anything else you want to tell us about Davina before we get going that we haven't been told?
Her laugh was infectious. Her laugh was like no other laugh in the world. And her daddy, we'd go to Spoon's Pharmacy right up the road, and her and Daddy would go in the card section and start reading cards and just go to howling and laughing. And I mean, everybody in there, including, everybody that knew us that worked in the pharmacy, but they'd start laughing just because she could make somebody laugh with her laughing.
That's amazing.
And like when Beverly had Kayla, we went in there and they got a video, and I got to find that. It's in my storage unit, and me and Davina are standing around looking at Kayla, and she's like, Davina's like, don't you love your favorite aunt? I'm your favorite aunt. Connie's not your favorite aunt. I'm your favorite aunt. She was just funny and fun, and God knows she loved them kids. And Savannah, she got to meet Savannah too. And she loved that name. That was her favorite name, was Savannah Sue, and Mama Sue, and but she always loved that name Savannah, and Beverly named Savannah Sue after Mama Sue. So, but yeah, and she did make a joke when because she knew I was pregnant. And I was 3 months pregnant. And she said, I think she told Karen Grasty's daughter. That's who she told. She said, yeah. She said, I think I'm going to have a nephew this time. She said, Tanya's going to have the boy. She said, I'm going to buy him a drum set. Like as soon as he's born, I'm going to buy him a drum set. And I was like, yeah, that'd be something she'd do.
You had laughed the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, and crack up laughing. Oh, gosh, yeah, she did.
I love it.
I mean, Beverly and I were so embarrassed about Daddy and her laughing, we'd, walk out of the store.
That is amazing. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it seems like a good way to end.
Yep.
But I'll fight for her as long as I'm on Earth.
We're right here with you.
Well, we're not done talking about her on our show.
I really appreciate both of you for what y'all do, and the stories y'all have are great, and what you've done so far with my sister's story has been awesome too. And I've told a lot of people about Crack House Chronicles, so
appreciate it. Well, Tanya, we're going to say goodnight, and we really appreciate you very, very much.
Happy birthday!
Yes.
Thank y'all so much. I don't think of a better way in my life tonight to have honored my sister and give a gift to myself as doing this for tonight.
Yeah, we've wiped some tears over here.
Yeah, we're in the Kleenex box with you.
Well, Tanya, you have a good night.
Thanks so much
for coming on. We appreciate you. Yeah, thanks so much.
God bless y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dale, we want to thank Tanya again for coming on the show and talking about her sister, Davina.
Man, I'm so honored and blessed to have these two girls come on here, man, and what a ride that was. I mean, ups and downs. It was just thankful she came on and shared with us.
And people listen to our stories and things we talk about, but just remember, people, these are real people we're talking about.
Yes.
And these lives were impacted
very much
greatly.
So, deeply.
Yeah. And the loss of...
And still impacting.
Yeah. Still going on.
Yeah. It's not like... oh, man.
Yeah. She was shot and murdered in 1999, and there's still stuff going on.
Yeah. Shady stuff.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate Tanya taking time on her birthday to come in and talk with us a while. It really means a lot to us.
Yep. All right, Dale, we're going to get out of here, bud.
Yeah, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.
Cash prizes every day. Adds up when you play at Pulse Casino.
Pulse.com. Over 700 casino-style games and counting. And no terrible lounge singer. Promise.
Hey, that's pretty mean.
There's always a new reason to play. Cash prizes every day of the week. PULSZ.com.
Pulse in your pocket, you can play anywhere. PULSZ.com.